Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I wanted to share something with you that I'm pretty excited about. So one of the big joys for me is actually making videos, obviously, for you guys, but I think one of the things I really love doing is these live action videos. I really love having the mask on and being able to be on my set in front of my camera. Sometimes I want to post something that's a bit shorter, that fits those live action intros, but I don't want it to be able to be something that's kind of just swept under the rug or something that disappears. So I was pretty excited when I found out about Amino's new story feature. And the fact that the stories don't just disappear like in other places. You guys have probably seen stories on other apps, however, they're always gone in a couple of hours, 24 hours, however many times they're around there. But on this one, you can actually have a wall of stories, and they don't just disappear. They're ones that can actually be around for a long time. Amino reached out to me, and I kind of decided to join in the fun. I'm going to be posting a couple of different convention updates and a few different live action things. You guys should be able to see a couple of those from me in the next coming days. If you click the link in the description or the pinned YouTube comment that should be at the top here, or of course you can just search for Amino Apps and download Amino. My first story can be found by searching MrCreepyPasta, so I'll show you how to do right here. And make sure to follow and click the bell to know when I'm posting a new video, just like YouTube. And every time you watch my videos, you'll be supporting me. So if you like my videos, this is kind of a no-brainer. This is a free way of keeping up with me and to keep me creating. All right, guys. On to tonight's story.
Hey there, my name is Travis Smith. I know it feels weird regarding this advertisement in such a place, but I figured the no-sleep community would be intrigued at my services. I don't want to sound blunt, but let's get straight to the point. I know every answer to any problem that you ask me, anything. I know it sounds crazy, believe me. I thought I was going insane the first time. But this is a legit thing. You can ask me anything in my private messages or even in the comments, and I'll give you a definite answer in about a day or so. The time could vary from problem to problem depending on how big the question is, but trust that you'll receive an answer in a reasonable period of time. Do you think your wife or husband is cheating on you? I can answer that in about a day. You want to know if your children are hiding something from you? I can give you a response in about 2 hours. Do you want to know who sabotaged your work in the office just because that person hates you? Give me a day, and you'll know. This offer covers absolutely anything you can think of, or I'll tell you otherwise. So, let's get on to my credentials. How can you know that I'm telling the truth, and this is a legit offer? I'll tell you the story of how I came about this certain superpower. I just hope that this doesn't get taken down because of the particular explanation. Setting up a business venture of this kind can be overwhelming, and my background upon this offer can be somewhat unbelievable. But considering everything going through this subreddit, I trust the community would take this seriously. After all, it's not like I'm mad or something. So, take my word for it. So my little story starts about a year ago, in the woods behind my house. The woods were kind of like my thinking chamber. You see, I was there for maybe the same reasons that you're still reading this. I had a problem that I needed answering. The problem, secret, or whatever you want to call it, it stemmed from the only place worse than fucking hell. You can't swear in these advertisements, right? First time doing this. Anyway. The office place. Yeah. That's what I was talking about. I wanted to figure out who was the bastard that spiked my coffee. Now I was assessing everyone in my workplace for a possible suspect, and then plan a retaliation. As you do in these situations. When I heard it. A voice near me, filled with anticipation and purpose. A single crow perched itself on a branch beside me. And it spoke. It presented itself as the all-knowing crow, and it told me that he knows the answer to my problem, and he could tell me for a thing in return. Blood. Just a drop for your problem, it said, explaining his bargain. Oddly enough, I believed him. Grabbing a broken branch and piercing my finger with it, I drew blood onto myself. There wasn't even a single moment of doubt. I knew he was telling the truth. My gut and my mind told me that. As a drop of blood fell onto the ground, it whispered a name in my ear. Jack Sullivan's. The asshole seated 2 seats to my left. The asshole gave me a knowing glare every time I tried to strike up conversation. The asshole by the name of Jack Sullivan's. That night I was itching to get back at him. I didn't sleep. My live-in partner lay beside me. It's a long story, sleeping. But not me. I counted the hours, the minutes, the seconds until sunrise came. After my morning routine, I proceeded to work. The first thing I did when I got there was look for him. I had planned out everything I wanted to do to him during the night. His mere presence fueled my anger. I walked up to him, grabbed his neatly ironed polo, and punched him straight at the face. I wasn't going to be polite or anything. The damn bastard pissed me off. I accused him of the coffee. Of course, he wouldn't tell me the truth. As all guilty men do. If you did something bad, would you admit that you did it? Of course not. I punched him again, and again, and again, and again, and again, until my coworkers stopped me. I was kicked out of the office that day and lost my job, but I didn't care. I laughed and laughed because of it. The burst of satisfaction and adrenaline. I think I broke his nose. I mean, there was a lot, and I mean a lot of blood, but it's just a broken nose, no big deal. I felt good. So good, in fact, that I went for ice cream right after. Tried to, anyway. The waitress wouldn't want to let me in because of the amount of blood in my shirt. I decided to go home and change. After that, I went back to the woods, and I called for the crow. It perched itself beside me and asked, "What happened?" I told him everything. He approved. I decided to take the crow, in case I needed it again. I caged it up, proceeded to watch television until my partner and his kids got home. I broke the news with them, thinking they'd share my happiness too, but I was wrong. Sharon, my live-in partner, was completely furious. She said that I gave up a sustaining job because I couldn't control my temper. I didn't tell her about the crow, though. Figured she'd steal it, use it for her own. This thing went on for weeks. It'd always end up in an argument, whatever we talked about. She thinks I'm worthless and a total piece of shit, that I should just fucking die, so she could forget that she ever met me. She told me that she'd rather die than marry me once the divorce papers were arranged. Well, not that specifically, but that was definitely what she meant. I figured these are all just excuses for the real problem. She was cheating on me. It wasn't a pretty hard thing to notice. When a woman cheats, she can't hide it. I decided to consult my trusty crow for it. I had already cut my finger before I asked it, but it said that it wasn't enough. Most big problems like this required a higher price, more blood. I had to get rid of the dog just to get my answer. After I cleaned up and buried the body, I approached it again and asked the same question. "Yes," the crow said. My blood immediately boiled. No one cheats on me, no one. And so I waited until she came home and beat the shit out of her until she didn't breathe anymore. And she didn't even admit it, and that made me even more mad. The kids, though, they saw everything. They cried and they cried and I cried, and I told them to shut up, but they wouldn't. Big mistake. They never stopped crying, not until they drowned in their own blood. After I cleaned up, I dumped the parts of them in the river, and the other parts I buried deep in the woods. It was a shame. Their blood could have been used for another time. Why am I telling you this? Well, because this way you know I'm telling the truth. I've done all of this because I put my faith on my little pet. Ask me anything. I'll answer correctly. The story proves I'm not just some batshit crazy person who had nothing better to do with their life than to troll people on the internet. And for all the skeptics out there, take my word for it. My crow is very much real. Its powers are also very real. I have proven this to be the case time and time again, but will not add it here as this advertisement is getting a bit long. Well, for all of you also asking, how could this be? I've tried asking the crow about how all this is possible, and it has given me ideas. But for the sake of professionalism and a short read, I'm choosing not to add them here. But if you're interested, you can ask me in the comments down below, free of charge. For all the believers out there, thank you. As per my original offer, you can ask anything in the comments and I'll answer it, eventually. I trust that you also recognize and are okay with my work. Although it may seem messy at times, I clean up well after. And that's just depending on how big the problem is. I haven't really thought of the way of payment for this, so I'll update you all on how to pay me if you ever dive into my services, but maybe through online payments, bank deposits, I don't know. But thank you. Thank you for taking your time to read this advertisement. I hope you hear from this community soon. My crow sends his regards.
Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you for listening to tonight's video, and quite potentially tomorrow night's or last night's video, depending on how many times I've reused this recording. I especially want to give a big thanks to Erik Mary, John, Daniel Poulsen, Trace Miles, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Wayne Milstead, Frederick LaRue, Ken LAndo Higuchi, Brianna Van Tine-Janzen, Nicholas Saeid Alyain, Tyler Ramberg, Asia, Gabrielle baca, TheRedOakShieldVirus, Sandy Barney, Melissa Siegwart, Chompski, Daniel Rowe, TheGingerBroz, Andreas, Solvik, and Andrew Steinberg. You guys and everybody who is supporting on Patreon are the real MVPs. And if anyone would like to join them, you can always check me out at patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. Or if you'd just like to support the show without, Patreon, then honestly, every view or minute or however you watch or listen to this Creepypasta Storytime on the YouTube live stream or here on YouTube, the podcast on Amazon, Google Play, and on Spotify. And if you'd like to support my wife, then there's nothing better than listening to scary stories with some Dungeons & Dragons themed herbal teas. Etsy.com/IvoryMonocleTea. Alright kids, thanks so much for listening, and sweet dreams.